Good afternoon. We are pleased to have with us today Mr. Swaminathan Ganesan. He's the co-founder and CEO of the Bangalore-based Smartail Private Limited, a deep tech company that provides AI-powered student assessment services through advanced machine learning and automatic grading. Swaminathan is an alumnus of BITS Pilani. That's the Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Pilani, who acquired valuable experience after graduating as vice president of the US-based Terralogic Inc., where he managed high-performance teams that drove product strategy and innovation across the US, Vietnam, and India for over 2 decades. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So let's proceed with the interview now. What were the major aims and objectives of Smartail Private Limited when it was promoted in 2019?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Dr. Dilip. So pleasure being here. To answer the first question, when we started out in the market back in 2019, there were two categories of players. One is either you had these ERP players who were doing, say, for instance, bus management or attendance management or these kind of activities in the education institutions, or you had the content players, the Byju's, the Vedantus, and all of these other players who were either selling directly to the students or to the education institutions in terms of content, say the books and publishers and whatnot. Deep technology as such was not relevant in any of the schools. So what we decided was that can we do something very innovative that can actually go and help the teachers and as well as to the students using AI. So that was the original thought that we had. And then we said, if we can bring AI into the problem of assessments, grading the assessments, that will be a real value add for the schools and for the teachers. So that was the original motto that we actually had. And that resulted in the starting of Smartail and developing of our product called as Deep Grade. So that's in very short the history of how we started out.
So essentially, it is to free up teachers' time so that they, instead of spending it on grading, they can do teaching. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. So there are two facets to this. One is teachers normally spend about 40 to 45% of their time in actually assessments. When you say assessments, it's not about just marking these answer papers, totaling,
Okay.
getting that into an Excel sheet, then feeding the same into another ERP system or an LMS system for storing, then generating report cards from that. So if you see the administrative work that is there for a teacher is pretty dominant. And as a parent, when you go to a parents teachers meeting, the most of the discussions is like, your kid is doing really great, he can do a little bit more better, or your kid needs to focus and study a little bit more better. There is not enough data for the teachers to even talk about how their kid is performing. So our aim was, one is saving the time of the teacher. So that is only part of the objective that is actually achieved. What do we give back? We exactly will be able to tell each student, where does he lack, which chapter, which topic, which subtopic, what kind of question type, what kind of question, which Bloom's taxonomy, how is the student actually doing in these different areas of cognitive levels. So that's the level of analysis that is actually required for any parent or any teacher to actually look at. So what we do is we look at, when we grade the answer paper, it's not about just, okay, seeing whether this keyword is there or that keyword is there. We also go in depth and analyze these and then award the marks. And when we award those marks or when we award those scores, we also have these data intact. So when we give a report to the child, we're going to tell them, hey, you did really great, but this is the pattern of errors that I'm actually seeing that you're actually making, or this is the place in which you can actually go and improve.
So now this is almost 7 years later after you promoted the company. How satisfied are you with the progress of the company? I mean, what's been the market receptivity to your services?
Yeah. So I'm very deeply proud and slightly impatient as well at this point in time. And that's, if I want to say, that's the two emote that I want to connect to how we think about the company right now. Number one, when we started, 3 months from the time the company was incorporated. So this 2019 November is when we incorporated. 3 months down the line, all the schools were shut because of COVID. So
Yes.
almost 18 to 24 months were gone in COVID. My predominant customers were schools. So we wanted to work with schools and universities. And we were not thinking again as a tool or a mobile app that needs to be given to the kids. We wanted to be somewhere helping the businesses, in the sense the schools themselves. So they were not there. So we had to swim through that and then pivot a little bit, create some features, create some modules which was actually there. But at the same time, we also got the opportunity to perfect the product. We got to work. We went to the schools for feedbacks, and again that iteration kept on happening for the years that we were not able to get to the school. But the schools opened in late 2021, early 2022 was the year again where the schools actually opened up. Then we got in, and then we did real pilots, real demonstrations with them, and then started getting the confidence of the teachers and the school management as such. If we remember again, today AI is a very buzzword and everybody talks about LLMs. For the past 18 months, there is no chai without an AI. So that's as simple as how the talk of AI is so more prevalent. Not so 4.5 or 5 years back. It was not the case. It was still a buzzword, but not as big as now. We were more selling the concept, saying AI could do this. So today we're in a stage where we are saying, hey, we have done this for the past 6 years, and we grade about 3 million answers a month. And in a day, we grade about close to 100 answer paper bundles. And our acceptance rate is around 95.2%. In the sense, when we grade 100 answers, teachers accept 95.2% of them. And this 4 is where they change a bit of mark here and there. So that's the level at which we've been actually able to move. So today we have about 100 customers working with about 60,000 children, operating in 4 countries as such. So what this means is market is really ready for this, and they are adopting at a very, very rapid scale.
Some other data, you have some other statistics showing your progress. How else would you measure it?
No, so in a month, we grade about 3 to 3.5 million answers. So these are the different answer papers that actually come from different schools as such. In a day, approximately around 100 different answer paper bundles that we actually grade. So these answer papers bundles get scanned and then that comes over. So that's the data that we normally have. Also, average in a month, we
3.5
have,
million, you said, right?
yeah,
3.5 million
3.5 million answers, individual
answers
answers. Yeah.
per per day, per
Month,
year,
per month, per
per
month,
month.
per
Per
month.
month. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite
So
impressive. Yes.
yeah, until now we have graded over 150 million answers. So all through the last 6 years,
150 million.
million answers. Yes.
Wow, that sounds a lot.
Yeah.
But
It
okay,
is quite
you're
a lot.
not satisfied.
No, no. So
Yes.
I'm saying we probably have to be in the trillions because that's the volume of the answer papers or the answers that's actually available in India as a country because of our population. We have a huge growth opportunity that is actually there.
Actually, there are 1.47 million schools in India, so you have a long way to go.
Indeed.
Yes. Yes. And let's move on to the third question.
Mm.
A USB proclaimed on the Smartail website is that your AI-driven assessment technology relieves every teacher of your client school burden of 500 hours. I think you mentioned that per year. Is that per year?
Yeah.
500. Yeah. Of grading
Yes.
students' answer papers without compromising the quality of assessment. But in light of what's recently happened in CBSE, NEET, I mean, how reliable is this wonder technology?
No. So I mean, if we want to dissect the problem at hand of what happened with CBSE, maybe since we work with schools and teachers day in and day out, we have a different perception of what happened. I would not comment on NEET because NEET is more of the fraudulent activity with respect to the question papers. So that can be solved by different methodologies. But I will definitely would like to throw some of my opinions on how answer paper assessments were actually happening. So, number one, the feedback that was actually there is the acclimatization period for the teachers were very less. though on-screen marking is not a very new technology. It was not found yesterday. So it has been there in practice for last 15 years. Many universities, IGCSE boards, many of these boards use it. Many universities use it for the last 10 to 15 years. Professors are practiced to, uh, mark the answer papers on the screen. So it's not new. But what happened is the teachers who were actually doing it were new. This was their first time, and the we thought the acclimatization period is was too less. It should have been a
Sure.
long, like 6 months to 1 year. It would have been a different story. Maybe this could have been practiced in Navodaya, or maybe this would have been given as a free pilot for them to do their half yearly exam, or in their uh, you know uh, practice tests, or any of their board preparation exams. So what that could have happened is the teachers would have got more acclimatized to it, saying, okay, this is how I get to do it. The other thing is, the most important thing that I actually see is the interpretation of the answer keys. So the answer keys were there available within the system, within the on-screen marking system, and there were teachers who were interpreting the answer, and then they were actually giving marks. So that's where, since the system was again new, probably there were also a little inexperienced teachers, or probably there were also teachers who were actually interpreting it little differently, and they were only expecting what is given at that answer key, and they were not higher level SMEs that is required for board 12, where the answer could be multi-varied, or could be more varied than a grade 10 or a grade 8 or a grade 9. So that is where the challenge was, the interpretation of the answer key. That is my opinion as such, my personal opinion. And
Are you
if
saying that actually it was a teacher training problem to get used
Yeah,
to
yeah,
on-screen marking?
yes, I would definitely say that. One is teacher training program, and that should have been the significant contributor. I am not saying that there were no bugs. There would have been definitely some bugs, some answer papers for some students getting flipped, the whole new answer paper coming. These are all bugs in the system.
Yes.
So that is definitely there. But that would have been a very, very small percentage of those events happening. Generally, even since my daughter wrote her 12th standard, and her results also came through, as a parent as well, I felt she is normally a 95 percentile student who probably got 5 or 6% less in the public exam, which is normally not the case, because the schools grade strictly so that when you go to the public exam, you actually score more. Here, the scenario was a little different. So this is one opinion of mine. Is This is number one. Number two is, earlier the answer papers used to circle around within the same zone. In the sense, if a student in Tamil Nadu was writing the answer paper in Chennai, this would not come to Mumbai, or this will not go to say Delhi or somewhere else, right? This would be still within the same say 200, 300 kilometer zone. But here, since the answer papers were digitized, I think every answer paper went all around the world. I mean, all around the country, and the teachers were actually grading. So a little, if we look at it, okay, it's the same question paper, it's the same answer key. What's going to be different? Everybody is going to look at it the same way. No, it is not the case. A teacher in, say, a tier 3 or a tier 2 city will be grading an answer paper a little differently than a teacher who is actually grading from a tier 1. It's not because they don't have the knowledge, it's about the awareness. For instance, I am from Chennai. I would be talking and giving an example from Chennai, which a teacher in Jammu and Kashmir or in Chandigarh would not be aware of. So they will think that this answer is wrong, and they will mark it as wrong. And vice versa for Chandigarh and Chennai as well. Some event happened, or some crop that the kid is actually mentioning in Punjab, the person in Madurai or Chennai would not be aware of this, right? So that is, I think these are very key contributors that were actually some of the challenges. That's what is my belief. Also, earlier, there used to
One
be a
second.
lot of
Why would
discussions.
why would the answers of a question paper of a student in Chennai, why would it go from marking to Delhi?
No, so, okay. So, number one is, earlier, the answer paper bundles need to move, right?
Were?
Before the on-screen marking, the
Uh,
answer paper bundles will go to the grading center. So
yes.
Chennai's answer paper will go to Bangalore. Bangalore will come to Madurai. Madurais will go back to Chennai. These will happen within their zones. Right
Yes.
now, since the answer paper is digitized, the answer paper from anywhere could be accessed anywhere. So it is a
Yes.
digital document right now. So it's a PDF file. So it could be accessed from anywhere. So that's where I'm saying that the answer paper, if the paper of a Chennai student would have gone to Chandigarh, there could have been a minor, even like a 0.5% contribution towards the geographical dominance that would have
For
played a part.
localization. For
Yes, that would have
localization.
definitely played a part. And rather more, the the interpretation itself of the answer key also would have been slightly different. So that again actually adds
Yeah.
to a contributor. Another feedback that is when I spoke to a few teachers who were actually casually mentioning was earlier it was a very human centric approach. For instance, there is an answer which a student has actually got it wrong or ambiguous. The teacher will take that answer paper, walk to the assistant examiner, and then she will ask, can you look at this answer and give me a feedback? Is something which they used to do. Now
Okay.
that is totally removed. And what has happened is the teacher will submit it and saying she can't do like mark it to the assistant examiner or someone. The system will automatically pick and give it to the assistant examiner. So
So there's
I
no
cannot
safety net.
say, yeah. So the safety net was not there, and probably that interpretation also, was where the students were in the receiving end. What I feel is the system is great. Probably it was very hurried. Probably it could have taken a little bit more time. Probably maybe we could have done it for say the NIOS exams, which is still volume is pretty less. We could have had enough number of safety checks. Maybe could have been done for grade 10 first before doing it for grade 12. Uh, why what degrade could have solved? I mean, let me say that probably if we had been in there, we were working only on assessments per se, and especially in school scenario. Normally, if you see on-screen marking, is a higher ed scenario in the sense higher educations mainly use on-screen markings. Schools are not used to on-screen markings at all. If you talk to probably 1,000 schools, one school will say they used on-screen marking. But if you go to universities, 6 out of 10 universities will say we use on-screen marking. So, but wherein deep grade was working with 100 schools. Schools is our primary customers as such. So, which meant that we were better aware of what are the challenges that will actually come when it comes to marking. How should the teacher be instructed? Which key points? When not? And maybe we could have also done a AI grading plus the teacher's mark, did a comparison, and see where the deviation is. If the deviation is higher, we could have flagged it for one more level of review. So, in my answer to your question would be technology is definitely needed, but when it's approached, it has to be validated. We have to take the human element in mind as to how tech savvy all our teachers are, not just the ones in tier one. How many pilots are we doing? Are we doing at scale? Are we doing for different geographies, demographies? All of these needs to be looked at before we take a plunge into the pool. So that should have been better.
It should be a much more robust system and tried, tested, which perhaps it was introduced prematurely. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so I'm
For
saying
school.
definitely a lot of practice, definitely a lot of process cleanup should have been done before implementing at this scale.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't only mark board exam papers, you mark all test papers. That means
Absolutely,
terminal tests, weekly tests, things like that. Am I right?
absolutely. So we do class tests, we do weekly tests, we do unit tests, we do formative exams, summative exams, all of these. So we
Oh.
believe in assessment for learning, not just the final outcome. So assessment should be used for learning rather than for elimination.
In which developed countries has Smartail's deep grade one stop AI solution for grading and learning been accepted?
Yeah, so today, apart from India, we work in schools in Singapore, in the UK, very specifically. and also in UAE. So we work with a few schools in Dubai, a few in UK, and a few in Singapore.
And the feedback is positive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we are, if not for the Iran war scenario, we could have actually scaled up our usage in UAE as such, because you have a lot of CBSE schools as well there, along with international schools as well. So we are constantly in touch with various different international schools and international universities, and all of this takes time. So in the sense, yeah, even if you take this product out, they would at least pilot it for a year before they conclude that okay, let's implement it at scale. So at least a 12 to 8 months lead period where they digest the whole thing and then they implement it at scale. So that's how things move here.
Uh, so, Smartail is evidently a for-profit enterprise.
Yes.
Yes. So, what is the range of what is the range of your per school or per student fees payable for your assessment services?
Yeah, so we have definitely built the product for Bharat, which means that we understand what is the school fees, what are the different layers in terms of school fees that is actually there. And the way in which the price is computed is more on a metered model. What do we mean by metered model is? It depends on the number of tests, number of subjects, number of repetition, and the number of marks of those tests that the school actually takes, individual student actually takes, and we price them accordingly. So, I mean, there are schools which even pay 300 rupees or 400 rupees per student per year as well, which are using deep grade. There are schools which are even paying us 5,000 rupees per student as well. So it totally depends on school to school, and the affordability we keep in terms of what you actually want. If you want to do only class tests, nothing else, we can do that too. If you want to do only formative and summative exams, we can do that. Only pre-boards, we can do that. So we have made it a very more like an Indian model where Indians we normally tend to choose what we want. We don't want to be told different packages. So we give the flexibility to our customers to choose.
So you have a menu. So the school selects from that and
Yes,
says,
yes,
we want this kind of test so many times a year, whether it's
yes,
monthly,
yes.
quarterly. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
So normally it's not our menu, it is the school's menu. Every
Okay.
school will have an assessment calendar. They will have all of this predetermined. They will say, we need to conduct these many class tests, we need to conduct these many unit tests, these many formative exams, these many summative exams. This is already, the school prepares this even before the year starts. We just go and say, okay, you pick and choose in that what you want to do with deep grade.
So evidently, you believe that testing students, the more you test them, the easier is it to know what are their strengths and weaknesses. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So there are two types of tests. There are tests for elimination and there are tests for measuring learning.
Ah,
Uh, as Smartail, we believe in we have to do more tests for measurement of learning. I need to understand if there is a child who's able to use the vocabulary, age appropriate vocabulary of his age. I need to understand if the child is actually able to use simple and compound sentences. I need to understand if the child is able to form, say complex introduction of characters or writing a story, weaving a storyline. Is he able to communicate in a way a little better? I need to understand if the kid is able to portray the facts, argue about a particular scenario, argue, put forth his opinion without any inhibition. So all of these is something which we need to measure apart from just whether a kid is getting an 88 or a 99 or a 94. I would rather say if I can give a progress report which is void of any marks and which only talks about how the kid is. So he's really brilliant in analyzing. So that's the way the progress reports should change. So one of Smartail's vision is going towards where if we can actually go away from marks and only talk about the real performance of the students.
so to, you believe that testing is good for gauging the knowledge, how much a child learns, where it hasn't learned sufficiently. So then the teacher can intervene and perhaps give that remedial education to the child in that.
Absolutely, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
So, would it be correct to say you're in the business of personalized learning?
yes. So we're
Yes.
giving personalized remedial planning or learning
Feedback.
gap identification for each child.
Yes, very, very important. Yes. It's in fact a new concept because generally tests are like meant to be something to be feared and because it leads to elimination, whereas this is constructive testing. Yes.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
Now, my next question was in a country with a per capita income of $2,800, that's about 2 lakhs per year. To what extent is digital driven education scalable?
No, it is absolutely. Now, the same per capita, the same country holds the largest amount of mobile phones in the world. I mean, so we already and the number of digital transactions that we make with the same per capita, we are the largest in the world. So why not in education? So absolutely, it is possible. It is just that there is enough amount of spend that is actually going in education. Whenever there is an spend in education that is actually going, infrastructure was the only thing that was actually thought. In the sense, the bigger the building, the better it is. The bigger the lab, the better it is. The bigger the school, the better it is. The bigger. So I'll start. I mean, there are governments which have actually given cycles and books and laptops and whatnot, right? So to all the children, and these are very very important. I don't deny them at all. But at the same time, there is also a need to bring in accountability in assessments in the country, and when it's done at scale, I don't think budget is a problem at all for our country, especially in education, because right now we are moving from a services market to a product market. What I mean by this is, if you take 20 years back, the ultimate aim for any graduate who were actually coming out was to join a Wipro or a TCS or a HCL or one of these big giants
Government
and then get
jobs.
a job. No, no, not a government job. I'm saying from a tech standpoint. So the
Oh,
job
okay.
was to go and join, say, Wipros and TCSs, and then the TCS will have a project with somebody in the US or somebody in Japan or somebody in Germany, and they want to actually work for that particular project, and then they move abroad. And that was the aim, probably 25 years back, 20 years back. Now that's not the case. When you talk to every other kid who's actually wants to come out of college, the first question is, can I start this startup? So he doesn't even have any experience, but his idea is, can I start up this startup and can I go and build this product? What do I need to do to scale to like 20 countries in the next few months? So the as a country, we are moving. We have flipped in the last 5 years. We are saying, okay, where is the respectability? Services or product? That tipping scale is going towards product. If it's going towards product, which means that education needs to be way different than what it was when you are actually working for services. Still, our education system is where you're taught to follow the process. You're taught to you know abide by what was actually given. The national education policy of 2020 is slowly changing that gear, so it's going towards how we can bring in more competitive evaluation of or competitive teaching for students, and how we can actually move towards competitiveness. So when that is happening, subsequently we cannot still be in the old system. You still need to move the assessment layers, the personalized learning layers, the experimentation layers, or I mean learning a subject as a project, or learning a subject as a not being within the classroom at all and learning that particular subject. Should also be possible for the students.
Okay, so let me pose the question to you, which I've posed to many vice chancellors and educationists and others, and never got a satisfactory answer. How do you explain that we have 43 million scholars in higher education? Okay, and including faculty and students. But for the last 79 years since independence, we have not produced a single novel game changer product, global game changer product or service like the internet, the smartphone, a jet engine, I don't know, automobile engine, or what's your answer to that?
Okay, so thank you for this question. I've been I don't know. I think this question everybody should have an answer. So my answer is very simple. Again, I will take up the services mindset that we actually have as a country. What is our R&D spent in every institute? It's almost,
0.6%
yeah, it's 0.6%.
of
And
GDP.
with a 0.6% of R&D spend, you cannot create any game changing, revolutionary products at scale that you're actually talking about. We do have here and there, but these are very, very minuscule. So in the sense, I went to Israel a few years back, and they have a concept called a startup nation. So what does a startup nation do? Is that any Israeli startup, the
You went
government
to
will fund.
Israel, you're saying? Sorry,
Yes,
where?
yes, Israel,
Israel.
Israel,
Okay.
yes, Israel. So the government will give them about 50% of the funding. The remaining 50% of the funding is given by domain experts. For example, if you want to start a startup in agriculture, the 50% fund will come from the government, and 50% will come from two or three agricultural big companies, billion-dollar companies. That's their mandate. They have to fund a few companies, so they will also fund. Now, if you fail in that startup, you go to the top of the queue for the next funding for your next startup. So the concept is your failure is not seen as, oh my God, this guy cannot do a business or he cannot do a product. He's in fact saying, oh, he's a failed founder, which means he is bound to succeed better in his next venture. So in the sense that they're being pushed up.
Yeah, let me stop you there. Forget about global game changer products. How come we have Indian Institute of Science, we have so many IITs? They've not been able to come up with any way to improve air quality, improve the quality of water in our rivers, work out a good traffic management for our cities. I mean, there are so many people there, but they don't need a lot of funding. They have to come up with a plan, right? When you come up with a good plan, I was an earlier editor of Business India and Business World, and S.L. Kirloskar told me if you have a good project, you will always find the funding. So how come
No,
all these issues are not able to solve domestic
no.
problems?
So very
Forget
simple,
about
sir.
global game changer.
Yeah. So so again, personal opinion, my
Yes.
opinion. In from Chennai, you have the plastic road man of India. I forgot his name. He's a doctor. I'm not sure what his name was. So he found out a method where you could lay
Roads.
roads
Yes, I know,
from
I know.
the plastic waste
Plastic
that is
waste.
actually
Yes.
generated. It's a patented technology, and he wanted to, and he is from Tamil Nadu, from my town, from Chennai, and he wanted to give it to the government, saying, "You guys take it for free. For others, I will charge probably, or other countries I will charge. You take it for free, and then you actually do it." Now, the biggest challenge is who will build the cat, in the sense which department in the government will decide that when there is something novel, say for example river cleaning or some project that is actually there, who will who will decide that this project has to be picked and this much amount of money that can be spent on this particular project, and which is okay for a novel technology. So that decision, that is still being made by probably what I will call, for the whole country, it is within 10,000 people. 10,000 people are deciding for the remaining 1.4 billion people on what should be picked. So if we go and fix the gap with the 10,000 people, probably it is possible for us to, you know, there is no dearth of ideas. There is no dearth of solutions. I don't think I would not even argue on that. But the solution is there for the last 10 years. Not even one road in Chennai is laid in.
So
There's no plastic road in
you're
Chennai.
saying you're saying that actually there are no entrepreneurs ready to take this up as and commercialize it. Like in Silicon
No,
Valley, you find something in Stanford, there are people in a queue to commercialize it. So you're saying
no.
that's the deal.
So for instance, why is the U.S. government using Anthropic?
Why is it?
why is the US government using Anthropic? Anthropic is a company which just came
Yeah,
a few years
yeah,
back.
I know.
Why is the US government using Anthropic? Right? They have it as a policy that whenever there is something which my team is building, I should be the first one to use it. For instance, again, I will go to the mindset. This is a psychology that we already have, right? Would you prefer a Mac or a a Google iPhone or a Google phone rather than an Indian brand? What would
Then,
you prefer than an
then,
Indian brand phone? Indian brand phone. So
yeah,
iPhone or
I would
or
prefer,
a
yes.
yeah. So
Why?
rather than an Indian brand phone. Now the point is that we have a very large majority, a very, very large majority, which will not even, I mean, like I'm saying 99.99% will not even think about buying iPhone or a Google's phone. They would not opt for the Indian brand, even if they know that this guy has built it from the street next door. That's our mindset. We need to change our mindset. We need to adopt local things. So the risk taking mindset of the population also plays a very, very important role.
See, at one time the Rhine was very badly polluted river. The Thames in England was already highly polluted, but they solved it. The question is, I mean, which I keep asking is, why can't we solve our problems? We have 101 excuses.
No, we
Anyway,
will solve it. It's just a matter of time. I think we will solve it. I'm pretty confident we will solve it. Yeah.
okay, so therefore, I ask you my last question. How optimistic are you about attaining the goal of Viksit Bharat and $30 trillion economy by 2047? A short answer.
So it's like we're 21 years away. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm I'm about 60-40 in the sense 60% confident that we will be there.
Oh, yes.
40%, yeah, 40% I'm still on the fence because we still have to do a lot of changes uh, in terms of business optimism or removing the red tapeism or actually
Ease of doing
seeing the
business.
schemes, ease of doing business and the ease of the benefit schemes reaching the right audience. So especially the entrepreneurs. If we make the entrepreneurs comfortable, if they are able to go and do business better or are able to grow, then automatically they need people. So when people grow, then automatically everything else falls in place. So the focus needs to be on entrepreneurs in every sector, and they should be treated on equity, not on equitable scale. So I'm not believing that okay, you take 10,000 crores, divide by 10,000 people, and give 1 crore each. That's not the way to solve a problem. I think most of the problems are solved in that manner now. If you change that and you say, okay, this guy deserves 200 crore, give him that. This guy deserves only 2 crore, give him that. But you ensure that it goes to that person.
We
Uh,
need some business champions.
Yeah. So and there is not if you need a Viksit Bharat, that means it's if you're talking about money, so it's trillion of dollars. So you have to go to the entrepreneurs. And the money multiple comes from products, not from services. Services is only okay. Products will give you the multiples that you are actually aiming to achieve. Services will only give you a percentage.
Okay, Swaminathan Ganesan, thank you very much for a very interesting conversation. And I wish you all the luck and good wishes for your very valuable service that you're providing to Indian education and the Indian economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Really a pleasure talking to you. I really love all the questions that you actually asked me. Thank you for hosting me today.